Okay, so let's talk about this trade. So today is June 5th. Currently, currently down for the week. Again, like same story as always, it should be up. It should be up for the week, especially after today. Today was pretty. Today was a trade that I don't know. Again, I didn't trade for like maybe 3 days, and then I tried doing like a quick analysis yesterday, and then I woke up trying to execute that analysis, and it was just like a rushed. It was a mixture of just being like a rushed analysis, and then also I was focusing a lot more this week on like key levels. So I was kind of just like this trade. I really just focused in on that like key level type of thing. Um, so yeah, so let's talk about this month. All right, so these trades are here. Yeah. So let's talk about the week, right? This week here, these two right here, these two positions, I was actually up. What was it? $300. I was actually up $300. Well, actually, it was these three here, these three positions. I was actually up about $300 to $400 on these positions. Ended up closing out with a loss, right? Took a $70 loss. I was up, right, 400. But again, that was part of not understanding the full move as a whole, right? Learning experience, but that was that. Then this one, I was actually, we'll talk about this trade in a bit, but once again, it was just not understanding the move, right? I'm really good at understanding the move as a whole. Um, but sometimes I just hold things a little bit too long because again I just don't understand them fully, right? But I feel like this week really, I don't know, the losses I took this week really helped me understand as to more as a whole. Like I said, I didn't trade this day, and then it came in this day, made about a $229 win, and then I pretty much just lost that today. Right, so it's tough. It's tough. Especially when these are trades that I should be winning. Especially this trade here. This trade was just a dumb trade. Like again, I'll go over this. We have two. So overall, should not be negative for the week, right? Again, I was up about $400 here. This is a trade that I actually was up maybe like $100 or something, and then lost. But again, that was me not really understanding. I think I was up like $50. That was just me not understanding the move as a whole. So I would take that as a loss. These right here should not have been losses. This was just like a dumb little trade, $3 like loss. So then in reality we should be up. Probably like, I don't know, probably about 400, maybe like 100 and something, 160. Plus this trade, and then plus this trade, I should be up a good amount. All right, so let's talk about the trade for. Let's talk about this trade here first, right? The first trade. So first trade, right? At the beginning of the week, it was actually here. This is the trade that we're actually on right here. Boom, right? And again, it's a perfect trade. It's a counter trend for one based off the lower time frames, right? But we understand that there's just like a lot of momentum here, right? A lot of momentum kind of pushing up here. I think we caught this wick here. Yeah, so this was that trade here, H4. If I go to H4 and I break this down off the H4, This was pretty much that trade I caught, right? And this is where kind of the key levels I started focusing a bit more on after seeing this, right? I didn't take this trade off based off key levels. It was mainly based off structure itself, understanding that we were still pretty much bullish within this candle right here. But again, it's like how structure ties in with the key levels, right? So again, when I came up to this level here, boom, we're still pretty much bullish based off that candle, right? Overall structure is bearish, yes, but based off this candle right here, bullish. We close above it, above this key level. At this key level, we pretty much make a doji, right? Showing us weakness. That could be reasoning as to taking a buy, right? Again, it's a very, very risky buy based off the fact that you're pretty much at the top already, right? So pretty much entering here might be, again, it could have gone bullish, right? We could have had like a big crazy bullish move depending on like what exactly was going on, but again, it's like again, it's just key levels, right? Key levels that we gotta focus on. Boom. That was just a key level there at that point in time, right? That we could have taken, that could have been like an extra confluence as to taking this buy here. Overall, still caught the move, right? But again, not understanding structure as a whole is what messed me up here, because again, I held this, as you guys can see, we pretty much shot all the way down, down, right? And yeah, dumb, right? Double me, super dumb of me. It should have closed out. When I see this exhaustion, all this exhaustion, close out. Main reason, right? Based off just candlestick analysis, gotta close out, and that's exhaustion. Based off structure, it's a high potential lower high point to be able to make then be able to make a lower low point, right? So again, should have not, and then again, we're overall bearish. So this is what I mean. Like I'm really, really good when it comes to catching the moves. Again, out of all the trades that I've taken the last 2 months, maybe all of them I've been in profit, right? Some of them I've been up $700, 800. All of them, every trade, I've been up in profit a good amount. But again, 80-90% of the time, I end up round tripping it, and then next thing you know, I'm either taking a loss or taking like a $50 win. So again, I'm really good at catching it, but I think my main weakness is just understanding the move as a whole, right? And understanding where I'm at within these candlesticks, right? At this key level, cool, we're not breaking it, bounce to the upside, right? So again, this should not have been a loss. This is what I would call, I guess, greedy, but it's like 50% greed, 50% just not understanding the move as a whole, right? Maybe just 75% not understanding, right? 25% greed. Nonetheless, though, yeah, so that's that move there. Nonetheless, again, $7 loss, whatever. Next, this trade here, right? So that other 200 something, like, yeah, 235, I think it was. And this is what I mean by not understanding the move, right? I tried taking this sell right here. I think this was my sell. I think I was up maybe like 30. And again, my direction was not bad entering this sell because of structure, but this is a bad trade based off the entry point. And again, not understanding structure fully, because again, I shouldn't be entering a sell at the lowest point here, right? We should be entering sells here, so that when it gets to this point, we can let it breathe, let it react. But the minute it doesn't break that level, gives us a doji, forms like a higher low point. Like again, if we go down to lower time frames, right around here, I think it was this, right? That was that main push, yeah. So again, right, we have this push, cool, boom, lower high, boom, higher low. This is where we should be exiting, right? Because again, it's like structure can do anything, but again, once we have a reason to get out, we gotta get out. All right, there's no reason for us to hold this. But again, I mean, reasoning overall. Let me rephrase that. We can hold, yes, if we understand the move as a whole. What I mean by that is this was H4, right, and we were pretty much bearish coming into the week, right? We had a lower high right here. This main lower high was not being broken, and we understood that, right? We understood that was our main direction. That is why we tried catching this sell, right? And then it popped back up on us, and then it pretty much consolidated a little bit, and then ended up pushing back down again, right? So this is what I mean. It's like the direction was cool. Understand? Okay, cool. I'm overall bearish. This is why I'm entering sells all along here, but I have to enter them at the highest point so that when it does retrace, we're not in that much drawdown, right? And then again, if I want to hold that, but again, I think I'm better now at understanding essentially this is that push. So again, I can have multiple entries around here, lower time frames, right? Scalping, and then once we get to this point, I can take away 2 positions, leave 1 overall, the best entry, the best risk to reward entry position that I took, leave it open, and then just let it be, right? So that was just that, right? Again, direction was cool because again, this was actually that move that we caught here. This whole push down, I caught that, right? And again, I ended up taking profit here, right? And I was so close. I think I was like 80% close and like holding this and try to be like, well, you know what? I think we can see a lower high point here, and we did. This was that Thursday here, right? And I missed this move down here. Would have been a clean move, right? I missed it. And then overall here again, I'm trying to sell, right? So this was that trade today, right? Let's talk about this trade. Once again, dumb trade, right? Because again, this is what I was kind of battling is understanding the higher low point, right? I kept telling myself, well, I need to see a higher low point here. If I don't see that, I'm still good, blah, 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 right? No. At the end of the day, as long as a higher low point is formed within this structure, it doesn't matter if it's within this candle, doesn't matter if it's within this candle, does not matter. A higher low point has to be made, right? Just overall based off structure. So when we're looking at this, again, this is such an easy trade. I do not know why I brushed it, right? Yesterday I should have just been more, give myself more time. But again, I had like 10, 15 minutes. I tried to rush a little and like do a little quick analysis. And again, right, here I am taking a loss because of it. Lower high, lower low, lower high, right? This is a higher low point. We're not breaking this point. On top of that higher low point, we're at a daily level of support. On top of that level of support, off the weekly, really, really bullish, right? This is though that higher low, higher high, and this is that higher low point, right, that we're trying to get. So now when it's at this point here, okay, cool, we're at this point here. It looks like, you know what, potential. And this is why we kind of had like a little minor sell bias because of the fact that, you know, we're struggling here. But again, we got to break a support, right, or make a lower high point. So again, boom, this was that pretty much that push. Cool. Now lower high point, right? So now with that being said, we got this lower high point here. Cool, as it's pushing down. Cool, but again, we're not breaking support, right? This support is not being broken. We're maintaining that level of support. So this is actually a sign, right? Not only that, but this here is a higher low point, right? This here is a higher low point when it comes to overall structure. What I mean by that is we have this push here, we have like the push, and then this is considered a higher low point, right? Boom. But when it comes to candles, right, and this is where we gotta get better at, right? Is mixing in the candlestick analysis with the structure analysis, right? What I mean by that is, boom, this could be considered a higher low point, right? When it comes to overall structure, but right when it comes to candlestick analysis, this is where we need to understand is that okay, right now when it comes to this daily candlestick, we're pretty much bearish, right? And this is just that retracement, okay? So again, technically this is not really like a higher low point when it comes to this push, right? Now again, could it have just taken off from here? Yes, right? It could have done that. But once again, that's kind of like the risk that we're like taking, right? And understanding this a little bit better, this could have taken off, right? But again, if we analyze that H4 structure, I mean, lower high, lower low, boom, higher low, boom, still maintaining, and then we're still kind of just bouncing off right here, right? So again, it can be kind of tricky, but this is where we got to get better at. It's just understanding that level there, right? And then, so okay, that's just based off the weekly, right? So even for us, even when we're here, because again, we understand the fact like what makes a weekly candle, right? A weekly candle is daily candlestick analysis mixed with daily structure. Daily structure, right? Lower high. Oh, hold on. Yeah. So lower high, lower low, and then this is that retracement, right? So then as we're coming down here, we obviously understand that we need to break this lower high, this lower low point here for structure. But again, we got to mix in the candlestick analysis, right? So with that being said, daily ended up pushing here. Boom. And we, as we can see, this could have been like a little key level or something based off this time frame. We catch this push here. Cool. You know what I mean? Like this is something that we might be thinking like potential higher low point, but in reality, we would want to see, or at least feel comfortable, because again, weekly candle, right? Within that weekly candle, we want to see daily higher low point, and this is that higher low point here. Boom. Right, when it comes to this here, because again, so when it comes to just looking at this overall lower high, lower low, lower high, yeah, that can be considered a higher low point, but pay attention to the candlestick, right? So now if this was like more of a bullish candle here, a full, just one big candle here, and then we're pushing like this, now this could have been a good reason as to like entering this buy without needing to see a higher low point like this. You know what I mean? Because the fact that we're still bullish, like this candle right here is what made H4 structure become bearish. We ended up breaking the support, right? So then because of that, we got to be a bit more patient. And now this is that point where we would enter here, right? Again, right? That's pretty much structure. That's the structure itself. Yeah, so that's kind of where we struggled at, just understanding the higher low points, right? Because we kept telling ourselves, I need to see a higher low point here, I need to see a higher low point there. Again, we just have to see a higher low point when it comes to overall structure, 100%, meaning like this here, lower high, lower low. That's a higher low point. This is cool. We're not breaking that main lower low, but also just a higher low point when it comes to structure, right? Because this is that support here. So this is that support there, right? So we want to see pretty much a higher low point before. So once we hit this level, cool, it is a higher low point when it comes to overall structure, but we understand that lower time frames is not yet bullish. So because of that, we could see something like this, right? And then boom, this is where we would love. This is a perfect buy, confident buy here. Here, not so much, but it's still something that could like again potentially take off. You know, but again, you want to be patient. You want to let this kind of develop a little bit more, because again, lower time frame is not giving. This is all just a counter trend, right? And this is kind of how we get stuff like this, because we never broke that main lower high point. We were just pretty much struggling. But look at this, like it could have pretty much like from here, boom, here, we could have gone bullish. You know, I mean, we could have really gone bullish from here. Understand this is that higher low point, and then boom, take that off, right? But this is where it can get us at times, because again, it's like it's still counter trending, so we want to be cautious of that. And this here, okay, so this is like the perfect setup as to like going back bullish, right? Because we never broke this resistance. So the closest thing to breaking a resistance is pretty much making a higher low point here to then take that off. Again, always we have to start flowing with structure, right? That's the key level. Like again, if daily, especially daily, right? Again, if we're within these candles, and again, we understand what makes the push. We understand that we can still push. Just make sure I'm still recording. No, we gotta understand what makes the push, right? I understand that these candles is gonna make overall structure, but it's also gonna make weekly candles. So these have to break key levels. Again, they have to break key levels. They have to also maintain its structure, kind of like I was doing now. For me to feel confident about this, you know, boom, 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 doji. But again, and it's something that I want to really dial in. I still want to use my key levels, but again, it's all about structure and candlestick analysis, right? How are we forming at these levels? So again, overall, like, boom, right? We're at this level here. We pretty much shoot up. This can be like a key level that we're at, right? Because of X, Y, and Z, whatever. Okay, cool. And then we could jump down to the H4. Cool, that's that. We're short exhaustion. Doesn't mean we're gonna sell off, right? Because again, we still want to see that like engulfing, right? So then with that being said, oh yeah, so like even here, like this is a lower high point, you know? So this is like a perfect example of like us potentially trying to get this push here, which we pretty much got, but then we didn't really get the engulf. I mean, we got the engulfing, yeah, push down, cool. But again, we ended up maintaining this level here. And again, that could have been a reason for me to see this stick to my analysis. Boom. You know, because it's a higher low point, you know, and this could have pushed us up, but it didn't. But again, that's something that we have to be cautious of and not really try to hold this too much, because this is where we can lose a lot of profit, right? If we're trying to hold this push here. And then nonetheless, we got that push here. So again, a lot of I really wish I would have caught this move. Seeing it in hindsight, it's obviously so much easier, right? But it's in the moment where it's hard. But again, I just gotta get better, right? Taking days off, all this stuff is really affecting how I trade. But yeah, this helps a lot, break things down a lot. So again, it's all about, this is a good example of, okay, if we want to insert again, we can insert on this buy here based off the fact that we're pretty much bullish, right? We're bullish overall off the weekly. We're bullish, you know, and now we're trying to get that higher high point at this point. Gonna break this here and gonna push to the upside. For now, we're at this level here. Cool. So again, it's all the same thing, right? This can end up being a lower high point. So I mean, next week, I mean, we still have about three more candles for the H4 candle to be, for the whole day to be done, basically. So this can be a potential lower high point here, depending on how we kind of close out. But it sucks because again, if this does end up pushing up, then we pretty much missed out on that whole move. And because weekly is bullish, I can definitely see this coming all the way up here. So we'll see how structure is. But with that being said, that's that, and that's pretty much that. That's for the week, right? Very sloppy week. And UJ, another one that we've been waiting on for a while. Once again, this is like, again, it's been heartbreaking month last month, because again, I had entries. I had like 3 entries here. I think I closed out like somewhere here, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere like here. This was definitely my biggest trade, but I knew it was gonna go here. But again, this actually helps because I actually understand like the reality of a big push, right? Because again, I was aiming for this whole time. I knew it was gonna come up here. I just had a feeling, not had a feeling, but just how structure was forming. Once again, I understood that, you know, we could be pretty much aiming for this level here. And I caught clean entries here, all on here, and I closed out like crazy, like early. You know, because again, I see candles like this, how we kind of push down here so quick. So then I kind of expect the same thing and expect us to get here so quick. But this has already been like what, almost more than a month that we've been pushing up, you know. So it does put a lot of things in perspective for sure. But again, it is coming up to a point where we could potentially start to kind of trade this area here. And the same thing goes with UCAD. UCAD, we're kind of at this level now here. So we'll see how we kind of react off this level there. So again, next week I do expect a big week. I'm really going to just lock in, focus on just trying to mix in the key levels, but overall stick to my candlestick analysis, stick to my structure, right? yeah, that's that. So, so we shall see. We shall see.